are speaking to David. David is the Chief Training Officer for the Barrie Fire and Emergency Services. So welcome, David. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Laura. Nice to meet you. I'm a firefighter with, as you said, the city of Barrie. I've been a firefighter for approximately 23 years now. I currently am the head of the training division. It's relatively new for me. It's only been about a year. Most of my career has been spent on fire trucks. What else would you like to know?
Well, lots of things, actually. But how did you decide that you wanted to switch over to Chief Training Officer? That seems like a big jump.
It is, actually. For most of my career, I've been involved in training one way or another. I've managed the special operations or technical rescue teams, and I've done a lot of work for the training division in regards to specialized forms of rescue. And a position came available, and I was asked if I would be interested in filling it.
That's really cool. So you've been a firefighter for a long time. What made you decide you wanted to become a firefighter?
A trip to an amusement park, actually, of all things. I was a relatively young man, and I'd gone to an amusement park one day, and a young girl had bashed her face on a picnic table. And although it was relatively minor, there was actually a lot of blood, and it was difficult to tell how minor it was. And family and everybody else was running around all panicked. And a young gentleman walked up and calmly introduced himself as a firefighter and asked if he could be of assistance. And he just had this cool, calm demeanor about him while everybody else was running around hysterical. And he just managed the situation, and everybody else settled down. And I knew right there, right then, that's who I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to have.
That is a really powerful story. I had an experience like that, and that is the opposite of what I decided. I decided I never wanted to do anything to do with blood. So I am super impressed with you. That's really cool, actually. So you said that you've been a firefighter for quite a long time. So that's pretty impressive. Now, can I ask, obviously you're a paid firefighter. What is the difference? Like we see all the time about volunteer firefighters. What's the difference between a paid firefighter and a volunteer firefighter? Is there a difference? How does that go about?
Well, that's a good question, actually. Volunteer firefighters is actually a little bit of a misnomer today. Volunteer firefighters over the years have transitioned into paid part-time firefighters. All firefighters in Canada are paid one way or another. Really a better description might be between a part-time firefighter and a career firefighter. So what you would maybe consider a volunteer would really be a paid part-time, and a paid firefighter, as you put it, would be a full-time or career firefighter. What the difference is, I think it's like anything else. If you have a part-time job, it's not the same as when that's your career, your profession. I think, as with that gentleman who was in the amusement park that day, on duty or not, firefighting isn't just what you do for many of us. For many of us, it's what you are. It's who you become. You become a firefighter, and it goes far beyond just what you do. And you find even your family adopts it. Your family refers to themselves as a firefighting family.
That's really impressive, and it sounds really powerful. I think a few of us can definitely say that our careers kind of end up defining us in some ways, but I imagine it's even more so when it's something as intense as firefighting. You know, they always say, we're running away and you're running towards, so it's so impressive. So that's really cool. Now, obviously, you've made a career out of this, but how do you become a firefighter? Do you have to go to like a special school? Do you need special training? What goes into becoming a firefighter?
In the old days, I think you'd take a bottle of scotch over to the local chief and you'd get a job. Today, it's quite the involved process. You generally start by going to a college, and pretty much every career firefighter in Canada starts off their career now by attending a college and obtaining what they call firefighter 1 and 2. These are levels of certification for training, knowledge, and skill. Once you've achieved that, you then will spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months intense training with the fire department that hires you. And then once you've completed that and you hit the floor, as we say, you'll then spend anywhere from 3 to 4 years basically in an apprenticeship, where you start out as a probationary firefighter, and then you become a third class, second class, and eventually a first class firefighter. And just then, when you think, well, the training's done, then you will generally get pulled into or assigned to become a special ops or a technical rescue firefighter, where you will specialize in a given discipline or several disciplines that require additional training, knowledge, experience, and skills.
That's really cool. So obviously you train people now, but did you, when you were going through all of these different jobs, did you have a favorite one? Can you answer that? Will you get in trouble if you say it's not the training portion, or?
No, I think that's one of the rewarding things about the job is helping people, but the second most enjoyable, I think, is training. It's the next best thing to the real thing. And I certainly have a passion for technical rescue. To define that, technical rescue is defined as special operations within the fire department. And it involves anything beyond the realm of what you would normally expect of us. So you would normally expect us to be good at kicking in doors, pulling hose, and putting out fires. But we'll do a lot more than that. We'll do trench rescue today. We do hazardous materials management and handling, mitigation of incidences. We do high-angle rescue, confined space rescue, cave rescue. We do swift water rescue, ice water rescue. Even when we think about vehicle accidents, what we term MVC response. When we look at today's cars have massively evolved and changed in the last 10, 20 years, and they contain a lot of hidden dangers to the rescuer, to firefighters, that most people wouldn't think of. So you're constantly learning. It never ends, trying to stay up with the new technologies, the new strategies, the new processes for mitigating bad situations and rescuing people. I think almost certainly, though, high-angle rescue is my favorite.
That's really cool. You said cars have changed a lot, and they have, right? Everybody's always saying, when you get into an accident now, it's not the same. So when you're talking about that, I guess, is it harder to rescue from today's cars? I don't know how to put that.
It's hard. Different. It's not necessarily hard. There's just more that you have to be aware of. Our strategies have changed. When we're managing an incident with an electric or a hybrid vehicle, there are different concerns. If we go into the mid-90s, there really weren't many airbags. There was only one airbag maybe towards the late 90s. Now when we approach a vehicle, there can be, 10, 15 or more airbags in that vehicle, and every one of those represents a hazard to the rescuer. There are high voltage cables, so when we cut the patient out of that vehicle, we have to be careful where we're cutting so we don't electrocute ourselves or somebody else.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. And it's really cool that you guys have the training and the know-how to do that. We really appreciate it when you guys show up. It's amazing. So that's kind of the technical aspects of it. But I have to know, what's the coolest part about being a firefighter?
The coolest part, I think, you never know what your day is going to look like. You have absolutely no idea when you go to work in the morning, or what that day will present for you. I mean, I literally have in over the course of 23 years, I literally have rescued a cat from a tree once. You never know. I mean, I've assisted when a young child got their big toe stuck in the bathroom, in the bathtub faucet. Um, whether it's fighting fires or rescuing people trapped on a bridge, or in confined spaces, you simply just don't know what the calls are going to be that day, and that for most firefighters is good. You know, we enjoy that. We enjoy the unexpected, and to a degree, we enjoy the problem solving that it represents, that it brings to us on a daily basis.
That's really cool. See, I totally thought that you were going to say that your favorite part was the truck. So I was wrong.
20 years ago, that would have exactly been my response. But after a while, you get used to the truck, and you're like, damn, this old truck, we need a new one. So, 20 years ago, I'd have said exactly that. But after a while, you get used to it, and you don't even notice it anymore.
Oh, okay. It's just a tool for you now. Do you need a special license to drive one of those big trucks, or you're just kind of trained on the job?
You get trained on the job. Most people today get what's called a DZ license, which is a large vehicle with air brakes. And then we undergo emergency driver training. It is definitely different to driving, your car or your pickup truck. The water or the load causes inside the tank of the truck, causes that truck to react differently when you're stopping or turning corners, when you're accelerating. And most people learn defensive driving. Well, as a firefighter, you actually have to learn offensive driving tactics and techniques. You have to declare your presence very forcefully, so that the people in their personal vehicles are aware of where you are and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really cool. So I'm guessing what you're saying is, if you see those flashing lights, or the green lights are you guys too, right? The green lights too, to pull over.
That's true, yes. The volunteers use green lights. And it is, we really do ask that people do pay attention to those, and do respect that we are responding to help somebody else. And that somebody else might one day be you or a member of your family. It's one of the more frustrating parts of our job is when responding to an emergency situation. Some people choose to ignore the flashing lights and the sirens for whatever reasons.
That's disappointing. Well, we appreciate you going, and I will certainly keep pulling over. So obviously you've said kind of one of the things that you love about your job is that, your day-to-day is so unexpected and you don't know what's going to happen each and every day. But what is the most unexpected part of being a firefighter in general? Do you have an unexpected thing that you didn't expect?
I never realized the diversity of what was involved in a modern fire department, and it's become more and more diverse. As I said initially, back when I first started in this profession, the majority of our calls were fires. We didn't attend medical calls in those days. We didn't respond to hazardous material incidences. But today, the average firefighter, one moment he might be doing CPR, the next moment he might be a drone pilot. I mean, drones have become an integral part of many fire departments today as another tool to assist us. So there are just so many different aspects in the fire service that, as a young man, never occurred to me, never realized. And as I said, those aspects have diversified and grown in number, along with the amount of knowledge and training required to keep up to date.
That makes sense. That's really cool, actually. Okay, so I have kind of a weird question next. So obviously we all watch movies with firefighters in it. And in the movies, all of you guys sleep in the fire department. I know when I was a kid, I insisted that my teacher slept in school. So obviously firefighters must sleep in the fire department. Is that true? Is that accurate? Do you sleep when you're on shift?
I'm not sure if I call it sleep. I work out of Station 1, and throughout the course of a night, there can be anywhere from 4 to 10 alarms. So maybe you could call it sleeping with one eye open. It was established many years ago that lack of sleep is significantly detrimental to a person's health. In actual fact, it's been recognized by the World Health Organization that sleep deprivation is actually a carcinogenic. And we do work 24-hour shifts. One of the reasons we work those shifts is because rotating shifts that we were otherwise forced to work, again, are detrimental to our circadian rhythm. And so that means even when we were off duty, we wouldn't be able to sleep properly. So we switched to 24-hour shifts so that the night before our shift, we always had a good night's sleep. And the night after our shift, we always have a good night's sleep. But to answer your question more simply, yes, between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Is considered downtime for most fire departments, and we are permitted to rest as much as we possibly can, as generally inadequately, but generally to get some downtime where we can, yes, for sure.
That's really cool. I don't think I'd want to sleep in the library, but maybe there's some comfortable chairs. I should look into that. Alrighty. So is there a favorite story that maybe you could share with us?
I'm not really sure there's a specific story in the way you might be thinking. Most all of the exciting, if you will, the adrenaline, intense style calls, whether or not they're successful, generally they leave a scar. They leave a mark on the rescuers responding, because generally, even though a life was saved or a home was saved, the property was saved, there's still a loss. There's still suffering involved, and we feel that. We take that with us for the rest of our lives. We never forget those incidences. I think probably one of my favorite things about the fire service is actually how we help people when we're not lights and sirens. People in need, such as our community projects team, for example. One of the guys put it to me that we fill in the blanks. We help those in need where nobody else is helping them, but even when we're off duty. I'm not sure if you're aware of our community projects.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So community projects is pretty much everybody in Barrie is familiar with our annual boot drive.
Yeah.
And with our annual boot drive, we're actually one of the highest fundraisers in all of North America. Last year, we raised $130,000 for muscular dystrophy, and that's our 65th year, I believe, Barry Fire's involvement in that. And we're involved, like every member of the department, from the newest probationary firefighter to the chief himself, is a part of our community projects team. And half of that, the funds raised, goes directly back into people in need in Barrie. I remember one day we had responded to a call in which an elderly gentleman had set fire to his microwave, and he didn't have another means of cooking. He wasn't allowed to use a stove or an oven, and we looked at that and we went straight over to the store and bought him a new microwave and took it over to him, and he was quite emotional that we had done for that. Just sometimes, one of the other things we do is commonly when there's a house fire and people are displaced from their homes, we'll cover the cost of a hotel room for them, for the family. We sponsor families every Christmas that can't afford to host a Christmas. We sponsor 5 or 6 Christmas families every year, making sure that they have a good Christmas dinner and Christmas presents for all. School lunches. There are some children who come from underprivileged homes, and one of our firefighters noticed one day that some of these children don't have breakfast or lunch. So they started a fund from the community projects to supply teachers and some of the schools so that when they note that little boy or girl doesn't have a snack or something to eat at lunchtime, that there is something there that they can give. That's pretty much, like I said, as Eric, as one of the firefighters put it, we fill in the blanks where there's nobody else to help.
That's pretty incredible. Sounds like you guys do a lot for the community, and we really appreciate it. I always feel bad during the boot drive, though. You guys do it in like the middle of winter. People make you guys stand out there in the cold.
Sometimes it's a little cold. It tends to be in May, actually, but this is Canadian weather. We can get snowstorms in May. What a lot of people don't realize is that every single firefighter that gets involved in that, and that is the entire department, does it on their own personal time. Even though we're in uniform, we are all volunteering on those days to raise those funds and to help that ongoing need throughout the course of an entire year.
That's pretty incredible. I don't know why I thought it was winter. I guess because, like you said, we're in Canada. It's terrible weather in May. But maybe this year it'll be really, really sunny and it'll just be perfect. My fingers are crossed. Alrighty. So my final question is there anything that you wish that you had known before you became a firefighter?
Yes. I certainly did not realize before I became a firefighter the effect that firefighting has on us. We're highly susceptible to heart attacks, cardiovascular issues. It has to do with consistent spiking of adrenaline, as well as consistent exposure to carcinogenics from responses, house fires, for example. People will sit around a campfire and think nothing of it, but there are what we call products of combustion being released by all fires, and these have a detrimental effect. They shorten our lifespan. So your average firefighter has a shortened lifespan of 10 to 15 years. and significantly higher rates of brain cancer, as well as other types of cancers. I think we're 6 times more likely to get brain cancer than the average member of the population. Having said that, I wouldn't change what I do. I love what I do, as do all firefighters, but eyes wide open. It would have been nice to know that ahead of time. And, you know, I would have still made the same choices that I've made. I think once you realize that you want to be a firefighter, I think it becomes a calling.
That's pretty incredible and powerful. I had no idea. So even more reason to appreciate you. So thank you. And is there anything that you just want to tell us at BPL? Like anything that, you know, I maybe haven't asked you yet?
Well, there are a couple of things. If I didn't say them, Sam, Fire Prevent Samantha, our fire prevention officer, would definitely wave an admonishing finger at me. Check your smoke detectors twice a year. Change your batteries. Make sure you have a fire plan, safety plan for your home. And that's about it, I think. Nothing else comes to mind.
That's awesome. You know, I can't be the only one who did this. I went to Costco and I bought the 2-pack, and my house has 3 floors, so I actually have an extra one. Do you guys take extra smoke detectors? Can we donate them?
That's a very good question. And I would honestly have to check with my superiors on that. I'm afraid I cannot provide you a definitive answer on that, but I can certainly find out quickly and have Samantha get back to you with an answer to that question. That's a very good question. I've never thought of that before.
I get for putting you on the spot.
we used to actually provide residences with smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors several years ago, and then due to certain legal reasons, we were required to stop doing that, which is why I hesitate to say yes, we do accept donations of that kind.
Absolutely. Well, I'll just double check my parents' smoke detector and maybe put it in their house. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me for very coffee chat. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you again. Bye.
Nice. Bye.